Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Tony and the Bald Guy. So you might be able to tell from the theme music from the Bald Guy and from his tunic that this is an all Star Trek episode. All Star Trek all the time.
All Star Trek all the time.
We've been already talking about Star Trek quite a bit on a few of our different episodes. Yeah. So why not just do an all Star Trek episode? So we're just going to run the 50th anniversary Star Trek in the background. But Superhero here has brought a collection of Star Trek toys and memorabilia.
Little spatting. A lot of my stuff is in boxes in Karen's business office and stuff. I have every type of phaser and even from Enterprise and stuff like that you could possibly,
I love the old. I love about this one, this is the Asylum one. Yeah. You can also use the Phaser 1. See, and to me, I like the old 60s style Star Trek stuff better than the original stuff. Yeah, retro cool.
It's so funny now, like if you see the new one, Discovery, they've got Captain Pike in there.
Yeah, they're doing,
and they've got all these touch screens and all this. In the show in the 60s, they're traveling back in time, and the music's going da da, and they've got a rolling clock in there. Now it's like, and Pike's before Kirk. Yeah. And they've got all, everything's just floating in the air. It's like, oh my god!
And I think I'm a little over the floaty touchscreen stuff. I think I've seen that enough.
I don't think that's ever going to exist if it doesn't by now. You think? I mean, maybe with VR glasses.
Maybe they're developing like monitors that are just going to be like clear plastic.
Yeah.
So maybe at some point, I suppose somebody's going to work on it because
so much science has been influenced by
science fiction.
There's Star Trek specifically. Yeah. Shatner did a thing a while ago called How Star Trek Changed the World.
Yeah, speaking of Shatner. Like the flip phone, or the cell phone itself was
inspired.
He had a hand
in that. Yeah. He had a hand in that. Did you know that? He was one of the original cellular investors.
Was he really?
Yeah, now I wish I had my communicator with me, because I don't know if you remember, the original cell phone was this big gray brick, cellular. Not just cell phone, but cellular specifically. He was one of the investors. And I remember the commercials with him out there going, I want to tell you about the best investment opportunity of all time. It's called cellular. And they'd beam him into the commercial and everything. And he said, it's going to work like a communicator. And they said, we can't do that. And he said, well, I own a controlling interest in the company. It's going to do it.
Yeah.
And they said, we can't do it. But he says, they came to him with a prototype. Oh, here we go, right there.
Right there.
And said, look, we can't make it flip open, but we can make it do this. And the bot, remember how that skinny thing, that skinny part that would open up? Yeah. And he went, okay. And he went with that. But he had a hand in that, doing that.
Captain Kirk invented cell phones, people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If Gore can invent the internet, Captain Kirk can invent cell phones.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
William Campbell is such an awesome actor.
Yeah.
He was also Kang. No, that was Mike Anzara. Kodos. Kang, Kodos, and Kor, who was also Baltar in Battlestar Galactica.
Say that 3 times real fast.
Kang, Kodos, Kor. Kang, Kodos, Kor. Kang, Kodos, Kor. And the 3 of them got together and showed up in Deep Space Nine as old Klingons.
Ah, fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. Yeah, and again, as you might be able to tell, we are big fans of the old original Star Trek series. I've of course I've watched.
My sword.
I've of course watched the Next Generation, and I just finished watching the new Picard series.
How was that?
It was pretty good. Yeah, I liked it. I did.
I wasn't a TNG guy, but I really liked Voyager.
Yeah, Voyager's good.
And I know it's a blasphemous thing to say, but just from like a story standpoint, DS9 is probably my favorite.
Really?
I mean, this one is always going to be it.
Yes, of course.
The 23rd century or nothing.
Yeah.
But DS9 had the most human interest stories and the best romances and the best... matter of fact, I think my favorite character in Star Trek of all time is probably Garrick.
Interesting.
Who was the tailor on DS9. Yeah. And then you find out as the show goes on, he was some kind of super spy for like the Waffen SS of Cardassia. No, really. He was a killing machine.
That's awesome.
And then he got to show it off later on, but he was very devious. Like, oh, I've got these prisoners. Then he'd pull a Cardassian phaser out and kill the guys.
Every time you keep saying Cardassian, I keep imagining Kim Kardashian with the phaser.
Yeah. Well, their phasers look like lizards. Remember that? I've got one somewhere, the Kardashian phaser. And, but yeah, and he was the same guy who was the crazy killer in the first Dirty Harry movie.
Really?
Yes, he was. You
I
just
would have
can't
to go
tell
back and
because
look.
of all the makeup.
I would have to go back and look, but I'm sure you're right.
That is one of my favorite Star Trek stories. I remember, because my old man...
Yeah.
You know, I've told you stories about my old man yelling in the movie theater, "Get behind the rock, you son of a bitch!" And what was this one in Indiana Jones? "Shoot, goddammit!" You know, when he's got the RPG pointed at the arc. Yeah. My old man, he was a trip. But we're all sitting there one night watching Deep Space Nine, and they've taken Kira and turned her into a Cardassian, and they're trying to convince her she always was a Cardassian.
Yeah.
And the head Cardassian who's in charge of all this is it, and we're going, where have we seen that guy before? My dad's sitting there with his cigarette and his cup of coffee, and we're like, where have we seen this guy? And all of a sudden my dad goes, "It's Julio from Sanford and Son." And he was right. It was who? Remember, "Buongiorno, Fred Sanford." And he was, he was Lamont's friend that would come over, and Fred hated him and everything. But that's who it was.
I love
and my
Sanford
dad, of all people, picked it out that that's who it was. It was Julio from Sanford and Son that was playing the head Cardassian that was charge of everything that was going on. It was hilarious.
Your dad sounded like an interesting guy.
He
that's
was.
For sure.
He was an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a few different things here. Why don't you show us what else we got here? We have
these aren't really 70s Star Trek toys, but this was made by Playmates in the 90s. Mm-hmm. I actually had to refurbish it today to get it working.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of corrosion on the contacts. If any of you have old electrical toys, take some white vinegar on a Q-tip and it just dissolves it. The thing didn't want to work with fresh batteries, but I dissolved all of that on the contacts, and now you have a working Playmates. Oh, that was cool.
Oh, that was cool.
Just the torpedo.
Yeah.
Working Starship Enterprise. Yeah, that was my favorite piece.
See, the best part about being an adult with a paycheck is you can buy all the toys that you wanted to get when you were a kid, but mom and dad were like, wait till Christmas.
His story about showing up in this movie is great.
Yeah.
Because Kirk.
Yeah.
Shatner. Because he always had such a great build in the 60s, when he did all the Kirk foo and everything like that.
Oh, we have a little visitor.
But, we have a Tribble.
Oh. Come here.
Yeah.
Come here.
Go.
Set dog. Set dog is angry. Set dog is angry.
There must be a Klingon around.
Come here.
Tribbles don't like Klingons.
That's true.
Yeah. But, kind of admitted he had let himself go in the 70s. He was still getting acting jobs and everything. He was doing fine. He was one of the few cast members, him and Nimoy, that were still getting job after job after job. Nimoy went on to Mission Impossible.
Yeah, of course.
He actually left that show because he got tired of it. He was the disguise expert.
Yeah.
And he could only do each character so many times, and he finally got tired of it. But Shatner said he'd let himself go, and they were working on a suit with like a girdle in it and everything like that, and he went through this insane exercise regimen to show up in the first movie in what I call the tennis outfit, where he's got the white shirt on with the gray slacks and everything, and he looked phenomenal.
You know what? I would...
that first movie. I even remember my mom, when it was on TV, she walked by and goes, "Oh, he looks better than he did in the show."
Yeah.
He looked really good.
I would like to see that nowadays is the Captain Kirk workout from...
he said it was massive cardio and no grilled cheese sandwiches, if I remember, because I read TV Memories and Movie Memories. I read both of his books.
Well, what passed for cardio in the 70s? Just running?
Running.
What else
Jim
are you going to do?
The joy of running.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. And Yeah, I think he said Nichelle Nichols told him, "You are way too thin," and he was like, "Oh, thank you so much." Yeah, he was. I've met him, but I guess we should get rolling on some of this stuff.
But yeah, what else we got here? Let's pull out the.
I've actually got toys from the 70s. Remember, we were talking about Migos. I think I mentioned in another show that these were the only ones that my mom saved.
Yeah, because they had clothes.
These
were amazing. Can I?
Now you see, even him, still has the foil on his badge.
Yeah,
He's very well taken care of.
I had these as a kid as well.
Yeah.
And these were...
This one I show on the Mego boards, and people go when they see this one.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, "You've got the Andorian?"
That one.
I was like, "Yeah, I've got the..." He's really rare, and so is the Telosian. I actually showed a picture of him when they did the Amazon episodes of South Park. Because I had to explain to the kids that were watching South Park, this is the alien that they're spoofing.
Right.
What's the name of the guy that runs Amazon?
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos was a Telosian.
Yes, of course.
In there, and I was explaining to them that that's the alien that they were making fun of.
Yeah.
With Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and these I didn't know they made a Telosian in the 70s.
That he's very rare.
Yeah.
And this one, too, I showed this one, and people were like, "Oh, my God."
That one's great.
That's the Sharonian.
Yeah.
That's one I watched that episode just the other day.
Now, the question
I love that. Now they make one... Of course, Mego is so good now. The reformed Mego, they make one that looks just like Frank Gorshin.
Yeah. Did they make this in both versions with...
No.
Of course.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't figure they did.
But, the Sharonian is... they were some of the most powerful beings. You stop and you look back at it. Thank God there were only two of them.
Right.
And thank God that they hated each other so badly that they killed each other because their ships were better, their technology was better. They had personal deflector shields around their body. They could control electronic stuff with their minds. They were just... One of them was the Riddler. They were unbelievably powerful.
You know what you don't see in modern Star Trek?
What?
Is mind control stuff, like sort of the telepathic or telepathy sort of stuff in the new ones. It's kind of like they've kind of like pushed that aside.
Like if a Sharonian got loose on a Borg ship, the Borg would all be dead.
Yeah.
Remember what he did to what Commissioner Beale did? This ship is going to Sharon, and he fries the control board.
Yeah.
And everything to let them see, I'm in charge here. They were nothing electrical would stand up against a Sharonian. Yeah, he'd wipe out the entire Borg, collective. That's what they called it, the collective.
And alas, the only two of them died, so...
Yeah, thank God for us. Yeah. And of course, the Gorn looks nothing like a Gorn.
No, well, he looks more like he literally has the Planet of the Apes outfit on there.
Well, no, he's got a Klingon uniform.
Oh, the Klingon uniform, but
it looks a Klingon. Oh, and it's William Campbell. It even looks like William Campbell, who we saw earlier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to hold him in the camera. Yeah, but you see the Gorn, but he has Planet of the Apes hands. See, he's got furry hands, and you want to hold the hands closer to the camera. But now they make a much more accurate Gorn. But I had that one, the Gorn. God, most of these, I was 11 years old. I looked at the date on his back, and I've had him since he was 11 years old. Or I was 11 years old.
Really?
And you see, I take good care of my toys.
Yeah, no,
they aren't
clearly.
all falling apart like yours are. I take good care of my toys.
Mine were in a closet or the attic for 40 years.
Yeah. And let's see. Here's Dr. McCoy.
Bones.
Yeah. And here's Richard Kyle as Ruck the android.
Yeah. Wow, they had some great... They did some great ones, Mego did.
Well, this is the thing we were telling the kids the other day. You're getting so ripped off nowadays. I mean, you're little tiny things of plastic. They didn't have clothes on them. They come with accessories.
Yeah.
But I mean, does he still have the foil? No, he doesn't. But most of these even still have the foil on the badges. I took good care of my toys.
And of course, the captain.
Yeah. Yeah. He went with me when I went to meet Shatner.
Oh, yeah?
And I'll tell you, that is if anybody that's watching this has also watched the Sunscreen podcast or anything, I've met a ton of celebrities over the years, and even Adam West and people like that, Dean Cain, you know, David Prowse, all these guys. And the line, I was one of the first guys in line to meet Shatner, and I had my little Kirk with me when I went to meet him. And he walked out from behind the curtain, and everybody in the line just got quiet. I mean, it was early, we were all talking, just kind of, oh, everyone just froze when he's got such magnetism.
Yeah.
And as I was going through the line, I had, of course, they're moving you because his line was forever. And I had the picture. I handed it down. He autographed it really quick, and I wanted to say something to him. And all I could think of to say to him was, you know, thank you for decades of great entertainment. Because I've read the Encyclopedia Shatnerica and everything like that. He's not just Star Trek. He's done so many. He did the only movie ever shot in Esperanto.
Yep.
And just T.J. Hooker and everything. He's done so much. And I said, thank you for decades of great entertainment. And I went to leave, and he stopped the line. And he looked at me in the eye, and he took my hand like this, and he went, thank you. And then he went back to doing, I'm going to remember that on my deathbed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he actually stopped the line for me.
That's awesome.
And held my hand and said, thank you. And then went back to doing, that was just the most cool.
Yeah.
That is the celebrity experience to me. That was,
absolutely. William Shatner, I mean, he's the man.
Yeah, and he's still the man. Denny Crane.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff my dad says, you know, stuff like that. He's still the man. He's still the man.
He's 80 now, right? He's got
82.
82.
And he'll go up to that set. The guy, I think it's in New York State, out in the boonies. He's some kind of storage unit tycoon or something, and he has an exact replica of the bridge and the hallways and the shuttle bay, and I think some of that Star Trek Continues that you like is shot there.
Yeah, well, they built that in Georgia, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because he'll go and he'll just sit in the chair, and these people will pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to come through. Right. And get to meet him and listen to him talk and everything like that.
Yeah.
And there is just recent photos of him still sitting in the chair with a leather jacket on.
That's awesome.
Everything like that. Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
That's awesome.
He hasn't slowed down at all.
No, he's very active on Twitter. And
he just was involved in this thing. These cops tackled a lady dressed up as a stormtrooper. I
saw that.
And he went after.
Oh, yeah.
The police chief.
Yeah.
He threw a gear.
He did,
over that. Because these cops, I don't know the full story, but for some stupid reason they attacked a cosplayer.
Yeah, she was like promoting like a store or something like that.
Yeah.
And basically, I saw the video online. Somebody, of course, shot it with a cell phone, and it was just her standing there in a Star Wars uniform. You know, I mean, if you are a cop and you see somebody dressed as a stormtrooper, it's fairly obvious.
Like, people have had to ask me what, you know, I could see like a millennial or a Gen Xer not knowing what this is.
Right.
But to not recognize a stormtrooper,
I
don't give a shit if you're a cop or not. You've seen Star Wars in some capacity or another. That was just completely uncalled for.
Yeah, it was really ludicrous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't just she was wearing it and then, you know, they made her stop, take the helmet off, lay down on the ground, and it was a girl, like a young girl, and then they came over and handcuffed her and it was... I don't even know.
Bill Shatner will take care of it.
He got fired up about it. He got fired up about it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And don't forget, he is a certified PR-24 and range instructor, and he's an LA County Reserve officer.
What's a PR-24?
It's that weird baton with the handle on it.
Oh, really?
It looks like a tonfa.
Oh, he learned it when he was doing T.J. Hooker.
Mm-hmm. And he's a reserve was probably not now since he's 82, but he was a reserve officer.
Yeah. How cool would that be if something went down and they called out all the reserve officers and here comes William Shatner marching up?
Yeah. Well, I think you'd have William Shatner, Shaq, and Steven Seagal. they're all
the
reserve officers and of all the crazy things.
That would be a fun show.
Yeah.
Shatner, Shaq, and Steven Seagal all together have their own show. A cop show.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people consider these movies blasphemous, but I really like them. I don't see anything wrong with them.
It's actually very interesting. Some people absolutely hate them.
Yeah, and they hate everything to do with it. And I don't understand. I enjoy them. It's supposed to be a different universe.
Right.
Even Spock from our universe goes into their universe, and they explain that he's from the other universe.
Yeah.
So it's okay that it's different.
It's alternate reality. People are, stylistically like, oh, the lens flare. Why so much lens flare?
Who cares?
Enjoy the film. Enjoy the story.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You get science fiction icons in there. Peter Weller played the evil admiral on the Dreadnought. Yeah, and he's RoboCop. And he was in Enterprise.
Enterprise.
He showed up in Enterprise as some evil miner. Some guy that was running a mining town or something like that, if I remember correctly.
I haven't seen all of those, but and Star Trek Enterprise, I actually liked a couple of the later seasons, like some of the early seasons on that were kind of meh.
My favorite episodes of those are when they went in the Mirror universe.
Oh yeah,
and the Defiant, there were 14 ships in this class, and like Yorktown, Hood, Potemkin, but there was one called the Defiant. And in the Tholian Web episode, that's the one that vanishes. And Kirk kind of vanishes with it, but they're able to get him back. Well, they get him back. They don't get the Defiant back. The Defiant lands in the Mirror universe.
Right.
Back in the day with the old clunky technology and everything like that from Enterprise. And so they take the Defiant, and that's what really starts the Mirror Empire. It would be ISS Enterprise as opposed to USS, and it's got the big sword through the earth.
Yeah, no, those are great. The mirror stuff, because
those are my favorite episodes of that.
If you haven't seen it, the way that they differentiate between good Captain Kirk, bad Captain Kirk, good Spock, bad Spock is the goatee. You got the goatee
or eyeliner.
Yes.
Remember Evil Kirk? I was watching Enemy Within. That's William Shatner's favorite episode, by the way. He loves that. That's his favorite one. It's like, what's your favorite episode? The Enemy Within. He loves The Enemy Within, where he's like, it's my ship! It's mine! And he's all going nuts and everything. Our close-up camera's dead.
Battery must have died.
That's okay. We're still going to do this.
I can change that.
Yeah. Enemy Within was his favorite episode. And I was George Takei's bodyguard a few years ago, thanks to you, and his favorite one was Naked Time. He likes Naked Time.
He loved Naked Time,
As a matter of fact, when they did the TNG episode Naked Now, he wrote them a nasty letter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he said, if all you're going to do is rehash the old episodes, stop making them now. And that, I guess, had an influence, because then they kind of started, developing the characters more and everything like that.
Yeah. George is great.
He is.
We had him here in the St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida area back in 2014 is when I had him here.
Yeah.
And got to spend a whole day and a half, 2 days with him, basically.
Yeah.
And I sat in a car with him for a whole day.
Got a nice build on him too. He still looks just like Sulu with the foil and everything. He looks really good.
And he talks with has that voice. That voice. Yes. And when he says oh my.
I want to get a bottle of oh my.
That's not a thing. That's not like a fake thing. Like it just in real life he'll just bust out with when you're having a conversation with him. Oh my.
What do they call those Japanese boards? I think they are that you paint on and then it vanishes.
Oh yeah,
because I remember we were down at the Dali for a meeting in there, and we were talking about Rodan of all things.
Yeah.
I was a voice on Rodan, and next time he comes, I want him to sign one of my Rodans for me. But
I have no idea what's going on in the background here.
He painted young George. I took a picture. It's young George, and he can really paint. He draws and he just walks away, and it starts to vanish. Well, oh shit! Trying to get pictures of it and everything before it vanishes.
Yeah.
It's George Takei doing artwork, and it's going to vanish, and we're trying to catch it in time before it does.
He was really great. He was great.
When I was in the ready room with him, waiting to go on stage, he told me about the Green Berets and Aldo Ray and John Wayne and I'll never wait. I'm the Charles Bronson guy. Everything is Charles Bronson. You get to talk like Charles Bronson. Where's Otis? I shot him. But he says, because about Charles Bronson, he says, he says, Charles Bronson would walk around the set with his shirt off, in love with his own body. Oh, jeez, it was great.
Yeah, George, he was great. We had that whole hour and a half where we just had him sitting in a chair talking, and what a great experience that was.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm telling you, so we got our toys, we got our Star Trek. Everybody's, most people. There are people that say, why not love both? Like Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans usually don't mesh.
Yeah, no, that was
I see why. I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but there's no science in it. It's not science fiction. You might as well be watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
If you're going to watch, and Star Trek explored the human experience more. Even the Sharonian, it was all about racism.
Yeah, Star Trek was Star Trek was born in the 60s and was born in a very tumultuous time. Right. And so the theme of that whole show was whatever was happening in the day. If it was racism, if it was class structure, if it was a youth movement.
Vietnam. Private Little War. Private Little War was all about Vietnam.
Yeah, so that's what Star Trek originated as.
It wasn't just zappy pow pow and let's save the princess. It actually, they tackled real issues, but they did it in a way that they could get past the censors.
Yeah. Gene Roddenberry's son, Eugene Roddenberry, is a producer on the new... I know he's a producer on Picard.
Wow.
On the new Picard show. I don't know if he was or is on Discovery because I haven't watched Discovery yet.
That seems to be the big argument that I see in Star Trek, as people say, who's the best captain? I even got involved in one on Facebook. Normally I don't sink into that, but they're saying, Picard's the best captain.
There's only one
and I said, without Kirk, there are no other captains. And in case you guys don't remember, when Sisko met him, in More Tribbles, More Troubles, he was like, oh, Captain Kirk, like he had just met God or something like that. And when Picard met him in Generations, Picard was like, James Kirk. Like he had just met God. But that seems to be the argument with Star Trek fans is who the best captain.
One of my favorite things related to Star Trek is Galaxy Quest.
Oh, I love Galaxy Quest.
They're doing a Galaxy Quest TV series.
Is it going to have any of the original cast members?
Not sure. They're developing it, so I haven't seen where it's at. But I think it's supposed to be on HBO even.
They had it was just he was Tim Allen.
Tim Allen was Captain Kirk.
No, he's Shatner.
Well,
he's
yes,
not
he was.
Tim Allen.
Yes,
he's Shatner.
He's Shatner. Yeah.
Like with the young girl in the car. So, what's your name? He was just so. He was, and that is Missy Pyle.
Yeah.
Who played the girl in there, and she was also the big ugly Russian with the teeth.
Yeah.
In Dodgeball.
Yeah.
And she's such a great character actress, but she always plays these.
Yeah,
monsters but that you really saw how beautiful she was when she was in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, what a fun movie that is. If you haven't seen Galaxy Quest,
that's a great movie.
I mean, it's Star Trek.
Alan Rickman as their Spock.
Yeah, it was a beautiful film.
It's a great movie. That is a great movie.
And so think of a modern version of Galaxy Quest almost is the Orville on Fox.
Oh, I love the Orville.
Orville's great.
The Orville is the Star Trek we deserved, not the Star Trek we got. Because when Discovery came out, it went over like a fart in church. Because they made it dystopian.
Yeah.
And Star Trek is not that. Everything Star Wars, whatever, it's dystopian. Star Trek is not that. Star Trek from the very beginning was we avoided the Third World War. Mm-hmm. We progressed as people. We solved all the Earth's problems. And then we moved out into space. It's not supposed to be dystopian.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And
everything's bad. The world's falling.
Right.
Yeah, it's the beautiful future.
It's the beautiful future. Right. It's the beautiful future, and that's what the Orville is.
Yeah.
If you ever see, believe it or not, Seth MacFarlane did a Star Trek fan film when he was a kid.
Did he?
And if you ever hear the Kirk voice in Family Guy, whenever he does the Kirk voice, he does the same voice in there.
Oh, really?
As he's trying to be Kirk with the little models and everything like that. So he understands Star Trek.
Yeah.
And that's why the Orville is so good.
Well, it's funny. Star Trek for many years was always something that was referenced in film and TV. South Park for years referenced Star Trek all the time. And they kind of got away from it because people... millennials, I guess we'll say, we're going to blame everything on millennials.
Yes, it's your fault.
Sort of forgot original Star Trek because they didn't grow up on it. They didn't.
Right.
They weren't inundated or weren't. Weaned on original Star Trek.
See, when we were kids, you had 3 TV channels, and then you had this other dial on there called a UHF knob.
And it snowed every day, and we had to walk to school uphill both ways.
Right, and it snowed on the TV because it was all, and then you'd turn this knob. And then you got WTOG or wherever you lived. I actually worked for them later on when I was an adult. And you turn the knob and there's WTOG Channel 44, and what they're showing is syndicated Star Trek.
Yeah.
You'd get like a Gilligan's Island, a Barney Miller, and then Star Trek. And so there was nothing else to watch until later on that night when the primetime shows came on NBC, CBS, and ABC, which were the only 3 networks.
And then even when cable came around, mid 80s, when it was becoming more normalized in most households, and not everyone still had cable at that point, you still saw Star Trek running on random cable channel that they would run
MeTV runs it now.
All day, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny because everyone always says, oh, how terrible Star Trek the Motion Picture is, and terrible, 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 and everything like that. And Bill Shatner says, yes, but there's just one problem. It made a huge amount of money.
Well,
because people were so hungry for new Star Trek.
That's the same thing with the new Star Wars films.
Yeah, they're so hungry for new Star Trek that even though, yes, it is. It's slow. It's very slowly paced. It's not like the show. It's beautiful to look at.
Yeah.
It's the most visually stunning movie, out there, but it's not. But it's. And he says that's the problem, though. It made a huge amount of money.
Well, and that's also now the problem with the new movies, the J.J. Abrams reboots. Is it started out real strong, first one good, second one good, third one just kind of.
Yeah, they've asked him about making a 4th one, but I don't think he has much interest in it.
They do not make it that much money. They don't make it. The problem is with these movies, you're spending $200 million.
Yes.
So when you spend $200 million, that means you have to spend another $100 million in marketing. So you're spending $300 million. So to break even, you need to make at least $600 million at the box office. God. So the numbers are so high. If they came in and spent, $100 million.
But you see, this was the thing back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because Star Trek II is considered to be the best one. Not by me, I like 5.
Yeah.
But 2 is considered to be the best one. That's the Star Trek movie. There's no other ones. That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, they got a TV producer named Harv Bennett to come in and do that one. And Harv Bennett was used to making, movie of the weeks for $1 million, $1.5 million, $500,000. He had done The Bionic Woman and The Invisible Man and things like that. And they said, can you make one of these goddamn movies for under $44 million? And he said he clutched his chest and almost fell out of the chair and says, where I come from, I'll give you 14 movies for that. And I think he brought that movie in $2 million under budget and early.
Sure.
And it's considered to be the best one. So that's also what made it
TV
more...
producers know how to move, man.
Right.
When you get on set, you got to go.
Right, and that's also why Leonard Nimoy said, hey, give me an out so I can keep making these.
Yeah.
Because he had such a bad experience on the first one, he didn't want to make any more. But then in the second one, he says, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. He's recaptured what we had.
Yeah.
And he asked him, Harv Bennett, give me an out.
Yeah.
So I can stay in the franchise.
Yeah, trust me, I've been on set for a lot of films, from small films, those $500,000 films, to, the big $100 million films. And to see the amount of money that is wasted on big productions. There was a production, I won't say what one, but it was a big production they were shooting at a house. And you can only fit so many lights in one house.
Yeah.
And do so much with one house. But they had 3 or 4 semi-trailers full of equipment lining the street in case they needed it. And they didn't get used. So you're paying for all that equipment. You're paying for the Teamsters to drive the trucks. You're paying for all this other stuff. But you're not using half of it. But you have the money to spend. So it's like, well, let's have it just in case we need it.
Wow, I've never been on a production like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's enormous.
Here, let's pour ketchup on you to look like fake blood. Come out of the lake and strangle this guy. Okay, what the hell? That's emote. Yeah, that's the big emote.
Emote.
Yeah, you don't need $300 million. Emote.
Well, tell us about your Star Trek tuning here.
Oh, well, I've had this one forever. It was Ruby's costume. It actually had a silk screened badge on it.
Yeah.
And if I remember, my mother, who was an incredible seamstress, we took a real Roddenberry store badge and put it over the top of it. And I've had this one forever. This and my
I was gonna say if your mom made that, then you have had that a long time.
Yeah. And she also made me a phaser belt, which I don't have on now. That's Velcro and designed. It looks exactly like the real thing.
Right.
I can walk around a con with a phaser and my communicator on the belt and everything. And
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember some of this stuff. Star Trek 4. The time travel one. That's another one that people say, no, 4 is the best.
Yeah.
And it's because of all the time travel.
Yeah.
They like the time travel ones, like City on the Edge of Forever and stuff like that.
Anything time travel.
Yeah.
I have a new script that I wrote I won't talk about on camera. There's some time travel in it.
Oh, okay.
See what happens with that.
Okay. And that's the thing. People always knock Star Trek 5. But I like Star Trek.
What is it about Star Trek 5 that makes that your favorite?
Because Star Trek 5 is more about the characters.
Yeah.
And by then the characters are so well developed that...
And that one is what, like 93-ish?
Yeah, early
something
90s.
Like that?
Yeah, early 90s, but it's more about the characters interacting than it is about the big picture of the story. And there's just something about that I really like about Star Trek. For some reason. And Bill Shatner, doing his own stunts, learned how to do... He went to some rock wall at the Paramount lot.
Really?
And learned all the hand grips and everything, and learned how to do the free climbing. I mean, of course, he wasn't, 5,000 feet up in the air, but he was on the wall free climbing it, for the scene where Spock comes up with the rocket boots.
Right.
Yeah, to meet him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Star Trek 5, it's an interesting one. That's the last Star Trek with the original cast.
No, 6 is.
6 is.
6 is.
6 is, and then it's too many. There's 12 of them now, I think, something like that. And then 7 is when you get into First Contact.
Generations.
Yeah.
Interesting about that, DeForest Kelley had made a lot of westerns.
Yeah.
He was always a black hat. If I remember correctly, he was even president of the Hollywood Badman's Association for a while.
Does that still exist? I wonder.
I don't know. I knew Richard Lynch was the president of it in the 80s. Who was the bad guy and everything in the 80s. I don't know if it exists or not.
We'll look it up.
But like there was a scene in Spectre of the Gun where they're fighting the Earps and everything like that. Yeah. And remember we had mentioned in another episode, if you couldn't rope, shoot, or ride a horse, you couldn't work in Hollywood back then. And they're all saying, we're not gunfighters. We can't beat the Earps or anything like that. And it's a take that, and DeForest Kelley just goes, oh, get the hell out of the way, Jim. Fires off the 6-shooter like a machine gun. He's fanning it and everything as he goes like, bah, 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 bah. After he does a twirl with it and drops it back in his holster. Because he was really a fast draw. Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Because he did all the westerns.
Yeah, with an old Peacemaker.
Yeah. And
everything like that. That's what's so funny about that one, is these guys really could do all that, but they had to pretend.
Well, what's funny about that episode, too, is that's an episode where it was shot all interior on sets, but because, they made it a different world and all that, it was sort of just the frame.
Yes.
It was very sort of artistic and surreal looking.
Yeah, very surreal episode where the crew goes back and they run into they're going to be in the shootout at the OK Corral, whether they like it or not, and they have to think their way out of it.
Yeah.
And
the thing about that too is because it was television back then, they had to find ways where you have cheaper episodes than other episodes. So it's like, we can't afford to build any sets. We can't afford to...
By the third year, Star Trek was tanking so bad in the ratings that Robert Justman, in the book I read, actually said we had enough of a budget to do a really good radio show.
Yeah.
That was the budget that he had.
Where they started using props and sets and everything from other shows that were shooting.
Right.
And started using their sets and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think was that was how the 1920s gangster episode got done. What was
Piece of the Action.
Piece of the Action.
One of my favorite actors, Vic Tayback.
Yes,
Vic Tayback's one of the greatest actors who ever lived.
Piece of the Action's
Mr.
great.
Mr. Kracko, your behavior is arrested. I've never been arrested in my life. Who went on, of course, to become Mel in Alice. Yeah, that's what most people remember him for. Yeah, he was a great actor.
Yeah,
Loved him.
that was the fun thing too about the original series is just some of the great character actors that came through through that show.
Oh yeah, in Elan of Troyes, remember we were talking about Dr. Shrinker? Mm-hmm. Well, the blue guy that ended up being stabbed by her, that was Dr. Shrinker. Yeah. There are all kinds of people. William Campbell, who we mentioned earlier, Mike Anzara, who did a lot of biblical movies and stuff like that, and he was Barbara Eden's husband.
That's
of all people. He played Kang in Day of the Dove.
Yeah.
God, there's so many. that came through, the sets there. I can't think of his name, but the guy that played Cyrano Jones was always great. And he came back in the animateds to voice Cyrano Jones again.
The Cyrano Jones character, the Harry Mudd.
Yep, no, that's Roger C. Carmel.
I'm sorry.
Who was also
Cyrano
a Batman
Jones. Cyrano
villain.
Jones is the guy who sold the tribbles.
Right, a tribble for the lovely lady.
Yes.
These great characters. Yeah, and Roger C. Carmel, who was also a Batman villain. He was Colonel Gum. He was in the one where the Green Hornet met Batman. Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other episode. Is 1960s original Batman.
Yeah, and Malachi Throne played the Commodore in Menagerie, which was the episodes that had the footage from the Cage, the original pilot in it, and they're chasing the Enterprise and the shuttlecraft, and he ends up being at the trial, and he's the Commodore with the deep voice. He had also played False Face in Batman. Mm-hmm. He was the mad scientist in Gilligan's Island, and he was the horribly politically incorrect Japanese sailor that showed up. Oh, you steam glasses! On Gilligan's Island. He could do anything. Yeah, he was so talented.
Well, speaking of Captain Pike. From the Menagerie, they are making a Captain Pike prequel series that'll be along with the Discovery kind of thing.
Yeah, I saw. I have Pike's laser pistol. Too, from the original, from the Cage. I should have brought that along.
There's been a lot of stuff that's been done with Pike, like in comic books and
I've read the comics where Robert April turns the Enterprise over to him and everything like that. The interesting thing of that story, Jeff Hunter was. He'd played Jesus of Nazareth, and he'd been in all these movies about Marines. He was in The Longest Day with John Wayne and Sean Connery and Richard Burton and everything like that. He did the pilot, and he was the only one of the cast members that NBC wanted.
Yeah.
They told them, we'll let you do another pilot, but get Hunter back, get rid of the guy with the ears. That's literally what they said, get rid of the guy with the ears. Yeah, that was literally, what they said. Hunter couldn't even be bothered to show up to turn down the job.
Really?
He sent his wife to turn down the job. She showed up and said, Jeffrey feels that his future is in movies, but thank you very much for the offer, and left. And that's when they had to start looking for a new captain. And Hunter died thinking he had made the greatest decision of his life because he died just a couple of years later.
Oh, really? Because the show was a failure.
It was a failure. It was a huge failure.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that people don't understand. Star Trek flopped horribly. It only ran for 3 seasons, but Hunter, he was on a ladder changing a bulb. He's a guy that, did his own stunts and everything, and he fell off the ladder and got up and went, I'm fine. and 3 days later he died of an aneurysm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he died
thinking... And he couldn't have been that old.
No. But he died thinking he'd made the best career choice of his life because Star Trek was doing so horribly. The only thing that really kept Star Trek on the air, from what I understand, and this is out of Robert Justman and Herb Solo's book, the guys that produced the show for Lucy. At the time, RCA owned NBC. And although Star Trek was getting killed in the ratings, it was the #1 color show out there.
Right. So for color,
you had ratings and color ratings.
Yeah.
And RCA was trying to push color TVs. Because back then, believe it or not, people said, color TV, it's a fad. I'm not exaggerating. Nobody was buying color TVs. They thought it was a fad. It'll go away. It's a fad.
So I'll tell you one of my favorites.
And that's what saved Star Trek. But at the same time, the ratings were so bad, it got canceled before it had a chance to become a really bad show.
Yeah.
Like, you see some of the last episodes, like Turnabout Intruder and stuff like that. Even Shatner jokes about that one. He says, a woman ends up in my body. There's a switch. He actually jokes about that episode, and where he had to pretend he was a woman inside of Captain Kirk's body and everything. Yeah. They were getting pretty bad.
Yeah.
And but it got canceled before it had a chance to become really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so what's interesting is, television, it always used to be, just get 3 seasons. Just get 3 seasons.
Syndication.
Because if you get 3 seasons, and you're talking 22, 24 episode seasons, you have enough for syndication.
Right.
Nowadays, shows can't go to syndication. You do 10 episodes, it's going to take you 10 years to get enough episodes to have syndication.
Right.
And so shows like that back then, and then it was like, because you made, look, let's just get our 3 years. We'll have syndication. We'll make some money in syndication. It'll be fine. It'll still be profitable in the long run.
Right.
Unbeknownst to them, that it would be not just profitable, but a platinum mine.
When Lucy finally sold Desilu Studios, I've been across the street from it. I was on a photo shoot in 2009 looking at Paramount Studios when I stepped outside to talk with some of the other superheroes that were there getting their pictures taken.
I've been on the Paramount lot. It's cool.
And
piece of history.
they had to do, Paramount, all they had to do was remove the fence, and then they owned Desilu. That is still to this day to be considered the most lucrative purchase in entertainment history.
Really?
Because they got all the rights to Star Trek.
Yeah.
When they bought Desilu. And we're starting to blink.
Well, that means we're close to run out of time here.
Uh-oh. What should we do?
Well,
can you transport us out of here?
Ooh, I don't know if I'm very good at that. I'll see.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We're going to transport out of here.
Beam me up, Scotty, even though it was never actually said in the show.
It was just beam me up.
Right? Or let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Like, remember he said that. That was a big thing back then. He said, let's get the hell out of here.